Great. So yes, I have with me, we have with us Arthapriya, who is very well known and much loved member of our Sangha, not just in Cambridge, but more broadly. He's been a public preceptor. He's been ordaining people for years and years. He's got the highest score of private people he's privately ordained of the whole. No, it's probably not quite right, is it? Anyway, he's ordained a lot of people, so he's very, very highly appreciated, much loved friend, Kalyana Mitra, as we say in Trivatna, in the Buddhist tradition. And it's not the best time for him at this time of day. So Arthapriya contracted cancer earlier this year, and is on hormone replacement, which actually zaps your energy. That particularly becomes apparent towards the end of the day. So it's not the best time, really, for Arthapriya actually to be here. But he really, really wanted to come and talk about this. I live in a community, have lived in a community with Arthapriya for
long time.
a long time, 20 years, something like that. Along with well, there's 7 of us in total. So we've been very much party to Arthapriya's process, which has been very, very affecting, actually, very moving. And Arthapriya is aware of that, aware that he's got something to share, and just sort of, despite the fact that it's not a great time, kind of wants to be able to share that if that can be of help to others. So that's why we have Arthapriya here with us. So yeah, we were trying to look for the right sort of mood.
So this is it.
This is the mood. Yeah. So maybe we'll dive straight in. Is that, yeah, you happy?
If I go quiet and philosophical, I might just have fallen asleep. You'll nudge me, won't you?
Yeah. Perhaps the other thing to say is that one of the symptoms of your treatment is hot flushes, isn't it?
Yeah. This isn't an affectation. This is kind of desperately needed sometimes.
Yeah. So
just let me correct you.
Yeah.
You said hormone replacement therapy. I'm not on hormone replacement therapy. No, that is something that
for the menopause.
Yeah. Yeah, my sister makes that mistake. I'm on ADT, or deprivation therapy, to try and get rid of hormones from the body, because with prostate cancer, testosterone causes the cancer to grow. So they're trying to get rid of that in my body, and that gives me the hot flushes and the night sweats, and starting with osteoporosis and all the other things that quite a few of the women here will be able to sympathize with me. And it certainly made me sympathize with, half the human race going through this sometime in their life. I had no idea. Got 4 sisters who've been through the menopause. I had no idea. Hot flush, just a little bit of warmth. No idea it was this sort of intense kind of heat that arises. It's making me more empathetic.
Yeah.
So just a slight correction.
Yeah.
If you don't mind.
Good, great. But perhaps it's worth just saying that some of the conversations we've had over the last number of months have been very, very precious to me, very, very sort of treasured kind of conversations. So it's been quite intimate, hasn't it? Sort of exploring just hearing what's going on for you, and I felt sort of drawn quite closely into that process, quite fully affected. So it's again, it feels very precious to be sort of interviewing you about this area. So just sort of in a way to bring myself in that way. I just wanted to start with that. And I thought it'd be good to start with the beginning. So when did you first notice that there was something wrong?
Um, just before I get onto that, I suppose tonight in a way it's kind of one cancer story, isn't it? And um, many of you, I think, will know people who've got cancer, or maybe have got cancer yourself. And each story is very, very kind of individual. So I'm just talking about kind of me, and it may be very, very different for, well, it will be very different for different people. So I just wanted to say that. When did I first notice it? I think um, I was on pilgrimage in India last year with the Ipswich Sangha, which was wonderful. And a heavy bag fell on me, as happens in India. I was on a small coach with the pilgrims, and this heavy bag, Iris's bag, fell on me, and I had kind of pain for the rest of the trip. In fact, 5 bags fell on me during that pilgrimage, all in the same place, all in the same place. No matter where I sat in the coach, bags fell on me. And they said, the pilgrims joked that I was the one that was kind of relieving people of the bag drop. And um, yeah, it was very kind of, it was very painful and stiff. And then when I came back to England, I went to the doctors with it. I went to a chiropractor. I went to an osteopath, physio, and I could get some relief from the discomfort, but it didn't last. And eventually it was difficult to get my socks on. It was so painful. I struggled to get my socks on, to bend down to get my socks on. It was painful at night, sleeping. I could hardly move my head. And each time I went to the doctors, I wasn't fobbed off. No, I wasn't fobbed off, but I was pushed towards something that actually didn't really help in the end. Until I did a 3-week solitary at Adhisthana. Just a little plug: the solitary huts at Adhisthana are great. They are great, but I struggled to find them great. I was in pain for the whole 3 weeks, and I'd got some cocodamol tablets, but I hadn't got very many, and I was kind of eking them out during the day, and um, and in the end, I decided to come home, didn't I? I came home 2 days early, and welcomed home by my community, who got me an electric blanket and picked me up from the station, and very, very good to kind of be home. And I went to the doctor, and I kind of, in a way, pleaded with him to do something. And he sent me for a battery of tests. And one of the tests he sent me for was a PSA test. And it's to test whether there is a particular protein that is given off by the prostate. It's not definitive, but it's kind of a pointer that if it's above a certain level, something is wrong. And I had been for one of these tests about 15 months before, and it was just below 4. And they said, we need to just keep an eye on you. And then this time I went, and it was 317. So the doctor rang me at night and told me this, young doctor, quite nervous, telling me. And so I felt kind of I had to reassure her. And when I heard how much it was, the PSA rate, I knew then what the problem was. And
the doctor by that point had mentioned that it's possible the PSA indicated cancer.
Well, the doctors are very they don't like to be too definite until all the evidence is in, and in a way, understandably. And even I consulted with a doctor friend of mine who's an order member, and even he was trying to be kind of cautious. So I was sent for a battery of tests, MRI, CT scan, bone density scan, and where I'd got the pain in my body, it showed up on the scans. So I'd got cancer in my leg and my ribs and my neck, and so it had metastasized. It spread beyond the prostate, and I remember you and I going up to the Adam Brooks hospital and for the results, and they were quite. He was very, very to the point. Um, he said, "You have prostate cancer, and it's advanced, and there is no cure." And that was pretty much it, wasn't it? Oh, right. Yeah. So if it hasn't spread beyond the prostate, then they can cure it. But in a way, it was too late. It had already gone beyond that. And it was odd, wasn't it? Because on the way there, Artie said he drove me, and it was rather tense, the atmosphere in the car. And then when we heard the news and we came back, we were quite kind of elated because I said, "Oh, let's go and get coffee and have a cake." And it was just good to kind of to know, wasn't it? Well, I found that. I don't know how you found that, but I found it a relief to know finally what the problem was. And yeah,
we were laughing about that in the car actually.
Yeah.
We got off really tense and
Yeah.
got terrible news and felt much better.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Yeah.
Yeah. So that's interesting, isn't it? I mean, that's a particular moment, but do you want to say more about what was it like getting the diagnosis? Because it was strange, wasn't it? Because as you say, when the PSA test came through, you sort of knew, and actually I sort of knew somehow as well. It made sense of everything so far. But then getting the diagnosis is different, isn't it? Or is it? Anyway, so do you want to say more about what was it like actually getting the diagnosis? How was that?
I think one of the things I kind of found helpful was that um, before we got the diagnosis, I thought maybe I'd got a few months left. And if you know me, you know that I'm on retreat quite a lot. I spend quite a lot of time on retreat at Padmaloka, the men's retreat centre in Norfolk, and I'm part of the kind of extended team there. And I realised that probably I wasn't going to be able to go back there, and but I had a very kind of strange experience. This is why I wanted to say at the beginning of this that each person's kind of journey with this is different. But I felt a kind of gratitude. I felt almost like that I had been given a gift in that I'd been given notice. And I'd been given notice to express my appreciation and love, to resolve any difficulties I had with people, to say sorry, and to feel gratitude for what I've been given. And now I could well have felt different. If I'd been 30 or 40, I might well have felt different, but I was 69, and I'd had since finding the Dharma, I'd had a very, very kind of satisfying life. Pre-Ratna, Bhante, Sangharakshita, my spiritual friends all contributed to me to saving my life in a way. And I felt so, so grateful for that, that I was fine. If this was it, anything more was a kind of bonus.
Mm.
And if I was knocked down by a car or bus, in the way that Lee, who used to work here, no time at all to say goodbye. So I'd been given this kind of time to put things right if I needed to, and to, in a way, travel lightly. So I've been trying to get rid of things, um, to let go of things, to not buy more things. I love books, and to let go of things, and trying to resolve any issues I have. Because sometimes you've got an issue with someone and you don't know, they don't say. Um, so I've invited people. I'm inviting you, if you've got a particular issue with me, maybe not tonight, not all at once, but to come and say, when you said such and such a thing a few months ago, I found that quite whatever, I'd welcome that. And if you think that you have upset me in some way, well, you can come to me too, and I'll tell you. I want to kind of be forgiven, and I want to forgive. We had Padma here last week, didn't we? It was lovely having Padma here, and he quoted from the Dhammapada, and I've written it down because the drugs I'm on make my mind. I get very, very forgetful, and it's from the Dhammapada. Others do not realize that we are all heading for death. Those who do realize it will compose their quarrels. Now, I've read that, and heard it read, hundreds of times, but suddenly it really jumped off the page. Of course, that's what you want to do. Of course, that's what I wanted to do, given this kind of diagnosis. I wanted to leave the world in harmony, as far as possible, in harmony with everyone. Mm-hmm. And I want to travel light. That's how I've been saying it to myself. Mm-hmm.
And you followed through with that, haven't you?
I have, yeah.
So what effect has that had?
Oh, I wish I'd done it earlier. So I wrote to somebody, and I said, listen, we haven't had very much kind of contact for quite a long time. And is it something I've said? And I thought it was something I'd said. In fact, I was pretty convinced it was something I'd said years and years ago. And he said, no, no, it wasn't anything I'd said. And I'd carried that, for years. He said, no, you've got nothing nothing to apologize about at all. Far from it, I'm just like that. Somebody doesn't have very many friends, somebody who likes to keep to themselves, and so I wish that I'd found that out kind of sooner. Mm-hmm. And somebody else kind of wrote to me and said that on my ordination course, which was like 36 years ago, they had been harsh with me, and would I forgive them? I couldn't. 36 years ago, I couldn't remember. The person who wrote is so kind. I just can't imagine him being harsh. And I was a bit tempted to say when and what did he actually say? But I've decided to kind of let it go. But we all get into this, don't we? We all get into having unresolved things. We carry around. Maybe we think we're going to resolve it at some point. Maybe we just ignore it when it comes up. I've done that quite a lot. And pride. Sometimes with me, it's been my pride, that, usually saying to myself, well, yes, maybe I was out of order, but they also have got something to look at, and them first, and I haven't got the luxury. It's not luxury. but I haven't got the kind of the luxury of the delusion of a luxury of time. So that's the one side. I'd say the other side is, and this is the bigger side, telling people that I love them, telling people that they matter to me, telling people that they have made a difference to my being, to my life. Ooh, yeah, feel a little bit of emotion there, but yeah, yeah. Like you've made this is maybe a bit personal, but you've made a tremendous difference, to my life, and it seems very apt, very I don't know, that you were there when I got the diagnosis, and it's very good to have somebody with you, good friend with you, because it's so much to take in. They're rattling off, the diagnosis, and they're rattling off what treatment is available, and they've just told you, you're going to die, and which is quite a big thing. And so you were very good, weren't you, at asking questions and clarifying things for me. So that was deeply appreciated. My community has been kind of wonderful, looking after me in the way they have. And it's not easy, having a friend in the community who's going through what I am. Not easy for me, not easy for them. And so I'm deeply, deeply grateful for that.
So just tracking back a little bit, because you had a heart operation, didn't you, about 10 years, probably slightly longer than 10 years ago. Or was it 10 years ago? Anyway, so back then, did it occur to you that you might die with the heart operation?
Yeah. Well, the doctor told me, the surgeon told me that I had got an 80% chance of surviving the operation. And I thought, oh, that sounds really good. But then I thought, gosh, that's so 8 out of 10 people survive. When I brought it down to smaller figures, it didn't seem so good. And so 2 people kind of die. But the thing about the open heart surgery I had was that if it was successful, and it was likely to be successful, then my life would improve. And he said it would be like the clock turning backwards, and I'd be able to do things that I was not able to do, for a long time. But it certainly made me think about death. But it's hard to keep your mind on that. We forget so easily. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt.
Somebody's car.
Somebody's car is locked in, so if you've got a car that's blocking somebody's car, yeah. There's a lady needs to be from the past.
What kind of car is it?
It's a blue jazz.
A blue jazz. Peter. Thanks, Peter.
So it faded.
Yeah.
And partly it faded because the outcome was going to be a positive one. My life would kind of open up again. This is my life in a way kind of closing down, because already, I feel, partly because of the therapy that I'm on, deeper levels of fatigue and sleeplessness and all the rest of it. And so I know where this is going, and this is going, this is kind of this will be a kind of narrowing down in some way physically. But I was doing the Metta Bhavana this morning, and I just felt I felt my life opening up as my physical body narrows down. I feel the possibility of my heart, my mind, kind of opening up. Yeah. And some of you actually were in my Metabogana this morning. You know,
Yeah.
don't come to me later and say, why wasn't I in your Metabogana? You were, in principle, you were. You were.
Yeah. So, I mean, I suppose one thing to just share is it was very striking being close to you through that process because, well, we were in the midst of trying to sort out an ordination course and who was going to lead it, weren't we?
Yeah.
Like you were leading it and I was supporting you, and we were going through all sorts of permutations trying to replace you and it kept changing and everything. And so we were dealing with that kind of organizational issue. And then suddenly we were talking about your imminent death. And what was most striking about that was there was no change in your tone, if you like. So this is something you can't particularly say, but I can say that we were talking about one practical thing, and then the practical thing we were talking about was your death, your imminent death. And it was very, very affecting being around someone who didn't sort of miss a step, as it were, in the transition from an organizational point to, the existential issue. So just to share that. But I wanted to ask you, because as you say, it's different this time as compared with your heart operation. But even now, do you believe that you're going to die?
Yes. Yes, I do. And sometimes it's I believe it more, but in one of the things we do in Buddhism is we turn our mind towards the ever-present reality of death, don't we? We're encouraged to do that, and there are particular meditations that we do, particularly in the order, and what you're trying to do with kind of insight meditation on death is you're trying to hold that truth steady before you, and it's hard to do that because the mind is distracted. Also, we tend to find it difficult with the existential situation to stay on, stay with it. Certainly, there's been very little difficulty in doing that. So in bed at night, in my meditation during the day, my mind keeps turning towards that. It's almost like the experience of being told this has really aided the acknowledging of my own mortality. And it's before me. I notice this particularly when people are talking about the future. And we do, don't we? We plan, and we're always planning sometimes. And the road runs out for me. That's how I feel. And sometimes in certain situations, I felt quite alone with that. I remember sitting at the dinner table with my friends, and this particular evening, I was feeling quite alone with it. That I was going to die and nobody else was there
around the table.
Yeah, and then I thought, gosh, we're all in the same boat. It's that I've just had the letter. I just kind of know, more firmly, and we need a certain amount of planning in our life, don't we? The center needs a certain amount of planning, but it has to be provisional because you just don't know whether you're going to, be there to see the outcome of your plan. I mean, it's very, very easy to think, oh, there I will be at Arthapriya's funeral. What will I say? Well, you may go before me. I might be eulogizing you, and you just don't know, do you?
Yeah.
Although when we had Bhai Kirti's funeral here, Bhai Kirti was an old friend of mine. He wasn't a close friend, but somebody I knew. I'd known for a long, long time, and he'd worked at Windhorse with us. And I was at his funeral, and I was thinking, well, it's probably going to be me next in here. And it was all right. And I was thinking, what songs would I have? What music would I have? We talked about that, haven't we? And one of the things, one of the real blessings in my community is we can talk seriously about this, but we can laugh about it as well. I've got to be able to kind of laugh about it as well as have people that I can talk to seriously about it. I don't want it to be a kind of grim thing, you know, so that one thing we often do is that we rejoice in somebody's life, don't we, at their funeral? I'd like a bit of that, you know, while I'm still around, please.
Yeah. I was just remembering you were joking about there's a particular chair that Arthapriya always sits in at the table. We all know that, and you were joking about this tradition from another culture of embalming, and maybe you could be embalmed in that chair.
That's right. That's right. This particular people, I think they're from Indonesia. They don't bury their dead for a while, and I saw a documentary about it. And this woman's mother had been in the front room for 7 years, 7 years. And when the children go to school, they nip in there first and they say, bye, Grandma, we're going to school, you know, and they go up to school. And then when they come back, they say, Grandma, we're back. And the person is asking the woman, is it not time, you know, that you buried her? And she said, we're just not ready yet. Right. We're just not ready yet. Yeah. Anyway, it's not a duty I lay on you. Because if I did, my sisters would want me some of the time as well.
They'd want to be, yeah. We'd have to drive you over, wouldn't we?
Yeah. So put people off their meal a bit, I think. Yeah.
So another thing is that all people have been quite moved, taken aback by how you've responded to this. Padmavajra was talking about just how cheerful you've continued to be throughout it, and he was really affected by that. Wasn't he? He was really affected. Yeah, certainly say for myself, it sort of really threw my sort of very natural relationship with death, that even though we reflect about it, I'll try and keep that at bay for as long as I can. Sort of to sort of, I was sort of drawn, invited into a world where death is part of it. A very, very positive experience for me. But I wondered about you, the way you've responded. Has that surprised you, or is it what you expected?
That was quite a difficult question. I think it probably has surprised me a bit. I mean, I think it's an odd situation where we think of death as some kind of aberration, you know, and if there is life, there is death. And we don't know, do we, what is going to happen at death, and the great kind of unknown country. And, you know, Buddhism speaks of a kind of continuation and a changing, nothing fixed, nothing kind of permanent, but some kind of continuation, to call it that, for want of ease. And I don't know. I just, as I say, I don't know whether it's because of my age or my Dharma practice, where I've spent a lot of time, never sure how much of it has gone in. Thinking about death, you don't know how much has gone in until you're tested, I think. You don't know how generous you are until you are tested by kind of a demand on your generosity. You don't know how patient you are until you are really, your patience is really tested. But to me, more and more, it just seems that it's it's just part of life.
Mm.
And I appreciate life. I love life. And I don't know about death. I don't know whether I will love, death, but um, you can't have, in any way, you can't have one without the other. And I mean, talking to David Mitra is the author of, I think it's called, is it called Dancing with Cancer or something? Entertaining Cancer. And I helped him launch the book here. I was chairing that evening. And I read the book on an order weekend. I read it in not one sitting exactly, but I found it a really, really good read. And it's about his journey with cancer. And this time I read it, since the diagnosis, I read it, and it's kind of, it's really hit me. He's talking about the kind of medical procedures that he's going, and the mental states, he's going, and he seems to have a very, very positive outlook. And when I met him and talked about this, he said he's relishing it. He can't wait, the next adventure. Wow. He's going to get rid of this kind of a body, and then, the next adventure. I don't know whether I'm not there yet. But certainly when he was talking about that, I thought, well, God, that is it's possible attitude to have, and it's the unknown, isn't it? It's the big unknown. But for all our differences, we are all going to die. And so I think that demands that you live while you're alive. You really live. You really do what you can to enhance other people's lives. And I think the Sangha does that. You do what you can to make a difference for people, make a positive difference for people, and that in that way your life will change beyond your imagination at the moment if you do that. I don't know where I'd be, to be honest, if I hadn't found the Dharma. And I was speaking about this with my brother-in-law. My brother-in-law said to me, "How can you be like this? You're going to die. How can you be? Are you not frightened? Are you, And I said, "No, I'm not." I mean, I don't know, do I? When the end comes, I don't know what that would be like. But what the figure that I was given when I was ordained, each order member takes or is given a particular Buddha or Bodhisattva that they dwell on, and in the dwelling on that figure, they, if you like, absorb the qualities of that Buddha or Bodhisattva. And the figure that I was given was Green Tara. And Green Tara has played such a big part in this. I don't sometimes feel like it's my positive attitude. It's just confidence in her and what her qualities: spontaneous compassion, quick response of Tara towards suffering, and a figure that I've dwelt on for over 30 years, and some of that, maybe some of that has rubbed off. And yeah.
Yeah, it's interesting. Yeah, I mean, one of the things that's been noticeable is just that your response has been just very unaffected. It's not like you've been, in a certain way, it doesn't look like you've been preparing for it in a kind of deliberated, what am I going to do when sort of a way. It's just that now that that's become clear, this is the response that has arisen.
Yeah.
Can I bring you back to Sangha? It's
Mm.
striking you talking about Sangha, and um, there was one friend, wasn't there, who has been a close friend, and you felt that there's been distance sort of brought into that friendship, and you wanted to address that, and that had quite a strong effect, didn't it? I think on you and on him and on me, actually, other people.
Yeah, yeah.
So why is that? Why is it that our relationships with people, our harmony with people, in the face of death, is so important?
Um, well, I think in a way, um, uh, in the face of life, it is so important. But death is the thing that the incentive that I could have needed.
Mm, mm,
And so this friend, um, this person had been a very, very kind of close friend to me, and we'd fallen out about something, and we'd patched things up, but there was still a kind of distance. Um, we never got back to the kind of friendship we'd had before. And I wasn't okay with that. And I know he wasn't okay with that, but we seemed to be okay with that because we weren't doing anything about it.
mm,
And so he came up very strongly in my meditation. And so I wrote to him and I apologized, if I had done anything. And I mean, I had done something. That's why we had fallen out. And asked for his forgiveness again. And I didn't feel any need for him to say he was sorry
mm,
either.
mm,
Not at all. And anyway, I posted the letter, and knowing him, I knew he'd get in touch. That's a bit I wasn't so sure about.
mm,
And he did get in touch, and he said, "Oh, I'd love to come and see you." And he came to see me, and and then he said, "When I got your card, I just cried.
mm,
I just cried." And we didn't need to talk about the matter.
mm,
Something had resolved, something had melted away, and
mm,
it wasn't back to what it had been. It was deeper than that.
mm,
And what a weight off my heart that was. I hadn't realized. Sometimes you've got these weights on your heart and you don't realize that it's sapping something.
mm,
And not just for you and the person, but for the Sangha. Because how we are with people affects other people, doesn't it? And um, oh, what a
mm,
relief it
mm,
was to have done that. Why did I leave it, so
mm,
long?
mm,
Um, Cowardice,
mm,
pride. Um, I think I was a bit scared, of opening up again, and
mm,
thought, because we're deluded, thought that it was better not to go there,
mm,
and
mm. I mean, it was also noticeable that it wasn't acrimonious, was it?
no,
It was sort of, as you say, it was patched up, wasn't
yeah,
it?
yeah, patched up,
Patched
yeah,
up, yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah, but nonetheless, very moving
mm,
to have really
yeah,
truly
yeah,
repaired it. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. And what it allowed was love,
Mm,
love to flow.
mm,
Because at the end of our meeting, I just loved him,
mm,
and since seeing him, I've seen him a couple of times since. I just feel there's no obstacles, there's no. I just love him,
mm,
and I deprived myself of that, and him and others, to holding on to something.
mm.
Yeah, yeah. Mm.
So we're just coming towards the end of our time, actually. Yeah, so maybe just to ask you, what difference do you think practicing the Dharma has made? In a way, it's a question that you've already sort of answered in a lot of ways, but how much is is age, and how much is the practice of the Dharma? Probably not an easy thing to decide for yourself, but
Well, it is easy.
right, okay,
Yeah, because I mean, I think it's the Dharma,
yeah,
and not just growing older. Although,
mm.
I mean, there's that saying, isn't there? There's no fool like an old fool. But I think actually with human maturation,
Mm.
um, we do um, we do start to have a more measured view of things. But I think it's the Dharma, um, being part of the Sangha, that has um, given me a life,
Mm.
and I've lived that life. And so somebody asked me when I had the heart problems, was there anything I kind of regretted? Did I ever regret, practicing the Dharma, starting off? And I no regrets like that, not at all. Um, and I just we don't know what would have happened if I hadn't started practicing the Dharma. But I've got an old friend from that time, and his life has gone the way that I think my life would have gone. And I'm so glad, it hasn't gone that way.
Mm.
Um, I'm so glad that I met the Dharma. And yeah,
Mm.
I've got a little something to read. Can I read it?
Yeah.
Maybe will this be the end?
Well, there is the question that you asked Padmavajra.
What that horrible question.
That horrible question, yeah.
Well, let's not. I'm not sure there's time for that. Which are you prepared?
Are you prepared?
Yeah.
Are you ready?
Am I ready? I don't think I am ready yet. I've got a few more things I want to kind of give away. And yeah, I'd like to go. I'm glad you asked that, because one of the things Bante did, and his teacher Dada Rinpoche did, as they were moving towards death, was they gave away everything. So Bante Sangharakshita gave away everything to the order. That's my understanding. He gave all his belongings to the order. And Dada Rinpoche, Bante's teacher, he went on a pilgrimage to the holy place in India, and he bankrupted, I think, his household. He gave his last penny, to beggars in India. And his house keeper was saying, Rinpoche, we are bankrupting us. And he said, this is important. And the housekeeper couldn't see it, but Rinpoche saw it. This is important. That I go lighter, and I still got some work to do. And actually, it's nice to give things away. So, yeah, not ready quite yet. But it comes when it comes, doesn't it? And if it comes soon, and it might come soon, yeah. I mean, the whole thing, as you know from our visits to the consultant, the whole time frame is kind of unknown, isn't it? And the particular drug that I'm on now, the expensive one, maybe will only be effective for 18 months. But that seemed a real bonus, didn't it? At the beginning, when it seemed so imminent. And yeah. Anyway, this is a poem by not a poem, it's a piece of prose by a Polish poet, Miłosz is his surname. That's how it's pronounced, Czesław Miłosz. It's called Awakened. There's something about this that seemed really, I don't know, I just really loved it when I heard it for the first time. And it seemed very, very appropriate for the situation I'm in, particularly the last line. So listen out for the last line. In advanced age, my health worsening, I woke up in the middle of the night and experienced a feeling of happiness so intense and perfect that in all my life, I had only felt its premonition. And there was no reason for it. It didn't obliterate consciousness. The past which I carried was there, together with my grief. And it was suddenly included, was a necessary part of the whole. The peace I felt was a closing of accounts and was connected with the thought of death. The happiness on this side was like an announcement of the other side. I realized that this was an undeserved gift, and I could not grasp by what grace it was bestowed upon me. I just read that last sentence again. I realized that this was an undeserved gift, and I could not grasp by what grace it was bestowed upon me.
Mm-hmm. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Arthapriya, really lovely to thank you for coming.
Mm.
We will have a tea break now. You'll probably need to go back home, probably, won't you? So we won't. There won't be time for questions.
Actually, maybe if there one or two, now.
You could do one or two now.
Yeah. Hi.
Hi. Thank you. The feeling that I get is that you're really vibrant and alive. And I just wanted to ask you two things. If you've thought about the kind of death you would like to have, if you have like an idea of a good death. And I don't know what the Buddhist sort of opinion is around assisted dying or assisted suicide. If at any point you might feel that your quality of life gets beyond the point at which you want to be alive.
Yeah, that's a very interesting question. The second one, and this isn't me fobbing you up, but I'd really like to address that. It needs to be addressed more fully. I think if I was in a lot of pain and the alternative to that was just being, in a way, doped up, completely, where I wasn't, it affected my awareness. I didn't know whether I would want to carry on. And so I respect those people who feel like they can't go on any longer. I feel really sympathetic to that. I do. And the first one was what kind of death? Yeah. Well, my dad died about 4 years ago, and he was 94. And that kind of death, he was surrounded by his loved ones, and so many people loved my dad. And one of the peculiar things about my dad's death was that in the days before he died, he had loads and loads of visitors, and he thanked everybody, thanked people individually for what they had given him. And my brother-in-law, one of my brother-in-laws said, not a very emotional brother-in-law, said that my dad had done that with him. And he said, but I haven't given anything to your dad. Your dad's given so much to me. But my dad felt a really pressing need to thank people. And so he died thanking people, appreciating people. And I thought, oh, yes, that's the way I'd like to go. And my dad wasn't a Buddhist, but he taught me, he was always teaching me things, but he taught me something really important in those last few days. yeah, so surrounded by friends, that would be nice, and as conscious and aware as possible. Um, that would be uh, important for me. Thank you. Mm.
It's Julia over here.
Think Green Tower's attitude towards that would they be? What do you think Green Tower's kind of attitude towards that thing?
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, the Buddhas and Bodhisattvas are have a different perspective to us. I mean, we think, don't we? Sometimes we struggle by thinking it's the end. And Buddhism traditionally teaches that it's not the end, it's a door. And I don't know, I would like to have the state of mind I would like to have a reflection of the state of mind Tara has when I die. And I'd like to be bearing her in mind as I've tried to bear her in mind throughout my order life and before I was ordained. So I hope my mind turns to her and her qualities of she's the quintessence of compassion, the tenderness of compassion, the openness, the wisdom of compassion. So I'm not, but I want to feel myself in the presence of that. Don't know whether that really answers your question, Julia, but one more, and then
Sudipta here.
Okay. Yeah, first of all, thank you so much, Arthapriya, for your generosity and courage for sharing with us. Just wondering, we know, but we don't believe we are going to die. As you said, you got later, but we already got later for Buddha, that's the universal truth. But in daily life, we do forget those things, We always live life like with pride and ego. So is there any reminder for us?
if there is any,
what will be the reminder?
Reminder for us.
Yeah. I think, practicing the Dharma, and practicing it kind of wholeheartedly and keeping the Dharma in mind. Because one of the things I really appreciate about the Dharma and those who practice the Dharma is that death isn't something that is shied away from. And it is to some extent because we're only human, isn't it? But we're encouraged not to shy away, but to turn towards, because it's the only definite thing, absolutely definite thing that is going to happen to you. Happen to you, your parents, your children, your friends, your enemies. The only definite thing. And in a way, how can you feel aversion for anybody when we're all in the same boat? We're all in the same boat together. We're not even in the boat, we're in the water, and we need to get into the boat, and we need to help one another to get into the boat. Yeah, so even as a Buddhist, you can forget something that is kind of universally kind of, I don't know, true. And I found doing that doesn't make me negative, doesn't make me nihilistic. It brings home the importance of love, to love one another, because time is of the essence. I'm so glad I had time, with that friend of mine, where things were, they're still left over, that I had the time to write and put things right. In trying to put things right, things are even more than right. Things are deeper than they were before. Now, Amrichandra put her hand up, so you sure? Fine, yeah. Okay. Thank you for coming and hearing, some of my story. And it is just my story. Stories are different. Yeah.
Thanks very much. That's brilliant.
Thank you.